Hey, welcome to the Tradesman Business Academy. My name is Calvin, my partner Bradley right here. Today we're going to talk about the importance of asking for the sale. Let's get it.
Okay guys, let's first start off with why it's important to know when and how to ask for the sale. The most important thing as a salesman that you need to know how to do is how to ask for the sale, because all of the work you've done prior in order to get a job, all the consultations, the incoming lead process we talked about, your design, your quote process, all the time you spent, all that's for nothing if you don't know how to ask a customer to sign the contract and move forward with the order. So we're going to give you guys basically 5 tips, 5 things of advice to keep in your mind that when you're asking for the sale that you can implement to maximize your success rate.
Okay guys, so we'll jump right in. Number one, and probably one of the most important things is to know when to ask for the order. You don't want to ask too early in the process. If you do, you're going to get shot down most of the time. You have to earn their business. You have to establish yourself as an expert. You have to build that trust, build that relationship, spend some time with them, talk to them, figure out their wants and needs. Then and only then, if you determine that you guys are a good fit, that is when you ask for the order. That doesn't mean you don't give them the price yet. You have to obviously give them the price and things like that. But when you give them the price and ask for the order, here's the price. Are you ready to do business now? Let's go. That is, only after you've built up yourself, built up your company, and built up your product that you're selling.
Keep in mind, guys, the average salesperson has to ask for the order 5 times before they get the yes. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in another video about what that whole process, the multiple asks, will look like. But I want to flip this on its head too. Just as important as it is to make sure you've done enough to earn the right to ask for the order, you also want to make sure, and you'll get this through experience and by following these steps, that you don't wait too long to ask for the order too. You don't want to keep asking reaffirming questions. Well, if they like, they like the design. Let's say you're a pool contractor, you put a design together, you give a price to them. You don't want to wait too long after they like the design. Obviously, you're somewhere within their budget because they're working on financing. If you're sitting there letting those things happen, any other experienced sales guy that might be bidding against you will come in and ask for the order first. And if they ask first, that shows to the customer, well, maybe they have more. They prioritize me more, because if you don't ask quick enough, if you don't ask at the right time, I guess is the better phrase, then you guys will be in a scenario where a customer is not going to feel like you value them enough or the possible job. So just as important as it is to make sure you've done enough to earn the right to ask for the sale, do not wait too long.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very important. So second thing on the list is don't make it all about price when you're having your consultation, you're getting ready to ask. In other words, don't say, hey, I know you told me your budget was $60,000, it's $65,000. Don't say, oh, it's a little bit over budget, but you still want to do it. You just say, okay, we talked about the scope of work, you're getting this, and this, all list of things that they're actually getting, and say budget, $65,000. Can we go ahead and move forward right now? I'll get you guys put on the schedule. All I need is a deposit. And shut up, let them talk, let them give you any objections, price objection, whatever. We will make a video on how to handle price objections and other objections as well. But just know, when this process, asking for the order, is done the correct way, you get less price objection when you take price out of your equation. You don't make it about price in your mind. We did a video on this before. It's like when you project your pricing or your budget onto them, and maybe you're looking at your bank account saying, man, that's a lot of money, I couldn't afford that. And you can't just assume that, because these guys may just write you a check right then and there, but maybe because you hesitate or act this way, they're like, okay, wait a minute, maybe this is not a good deal as we thought it was, and then all of a sudden they make it about budget, and so they feed off of your energy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. The value stacking, which again, if you guys are following your correct processes with the consultation and then your post lead acquisition process, you have already started to build value with your product, so it will make your asking for the order scenario a lot easier. So let's move on to step 3. The third step, make sure you're very confident. You guys want to be confident. When you're asking for the order, be confident in asking for the order, because what your company is providing, what your product is, and what you are providing as the salesperson or the guy doing the job, or maybe you're a little bit of both, whatever you're providing is worth it. It's worth the price that you've associated with it. You know you can do the job correctly. You know you've got the right product for them, and you know you're going to solve their pain problems by providing them with pleasure, or their pain point rather, with pleasure. So be confident. Because you've already gone this far in the process and established yourself as an expert. You have all of the ground, both morally and practically, to stand on, to hold your position, to be confident, because you have earned the right. If you have earned the right for the ask and you've done the proper steps to get to this point, there's no reason for you guys to back down or not feel secure in the position you are asking for that sale.
Absolutely, and Bradley touched on it. Establish yourself as an expert. If you feel like the expert, you'll talk like the expert. You'll come across as the expert. You don't want to sit there and go into a situation, and hopefully you guys at this point know what you're doing, and I'm sure you do if you're watching this video. You have to establish yourself as the expert quickly, and a lot of times what helps us do that is we have a consultation form. Unlike anybody else in our industry, we do, and this is what I suggest for everybody working with us, is you have a consultation form that has a very detailed list of every aspect of what you do. That way you can go through it and fill it out professionally, and they feel like, okay, these guys have their shit together because they know the right questions to ask, the right order to ask them in, and you're touching all their pain points, all the things that they worry about whenever demolition starts, like and this kind of feeds into number 4. So number 3 is be confident. Number 4 is assume that you're going to close them. So let's just say you're doing a kitchen remodel, and so an assumptive close would be like, okay guys, when we start work and we start tearing this old island out and start tearing this cabinet down, we want to make sure we put a curtain up and block, clean, keep all this out. We need you guys to clear this area. And they say, oh, okay, no problem. We'll take care of all that before time comes and all that. They have basically, in their mind, without even knowing it, kind of told you that they feel comfortable already enough with you to work with them, and you sort of close them and kind of put them in, box them in a little bit, which is good. And there's other ways to do that as well. But assuming the close is one of the strongest ways to see where your customer's at. Because if you say that same sentence, okay, well, when we start tearing stuff out, and they say, oh, well, don't get ahead of yourself, man. Then you know that you may have to circle back and rebuild the value up, go through the process a little bit again, and make sure you establish yourself as an expert, because maybe you didn't do a good enough job the first time around.
And let me be frank too, if you're doing this properly and you come to the assumptive close portion where you're starting to frame it in their mind, like, hey, we're going to be doing this, you need to make sure this is prepared, XYZ, you will very rarely, if ever, get any pushback from a customer or a potential customer by doing that method if you've done everything correctly by that point. Again, we're going to keep hammering this nail. If you've established yourself as an expert and you use your value stack of what you and your company can provide in the product and how you're going to solve all the issues that you run into, you guys will be putting yourself in a position where you're not going to have any pushback on that assumptive close, and you guys are always going to be in a scenario where it's just or basic psychology. You start framing them with these little yeses. They start getting in their head what it's going to look like to work with you. It's involuntary. It's something they can't get away from. So remember that if you've done these things correctly, you're very unlikely, if ever, to get any pushback from that. I've not gotten any pushback in my career once about any kind of assumptive close methods or tactics I've used, because I followed these other steps properly before.
And it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the sale by any means, but definitely it points you in the right direction and lets you know that they do feel comfortable working with you if some other things line up as well. So just do those assumptive closes, and that'll help you a lot. So number 5, this is kind of a little bit of a controversial one in our industry of if you should negotiate with your pricing on your work. And here's what I'll say about that. Off the top of my head, my answer is no, I don't think you should. But off the top of my head also, the answer is yes, why not? So here's my point. If you're negotiating on something that you're making $1,000 profit on and you got to negotiate to make $500, I wouldn't do that. That would be like, no, move on to the next. Now, if you're negotiating on something that you're going to make $30,000 on and you got to take $1,000 off to make the deal, that makes sense still, right? Especially if you're doing multiple jobs like we do pools and stuff like that. So here's what I'll tell you about negotiating. If you are going to negotiate, no matter what, in any circumstance, you have to get a commitment before you even start to negotiate. Before you give a penny off, they have to commit that they're going to sign a contract that day or the next time you see them if it's like over the phone or something like that. You only negotiate when you're getting something in return. You don't want to get caught up in this, that, like, well, give me, well, I wanted it for, a couple thousand cheap or whatever, and you say, okay, well, all right, so if I do it, are we ready to go? And they say, oh, well, let me still think about it. There's no point in negotiating. So I'm like, okay, don't give them anything. And I wouldn't suggest giving a couple $1,000 away, but it's your business, and you know what your overhead is and what you need to make. I wouldn't make it a habit, but if you got to do what you got to do to make a bit, if like for us, there's jobs that we can make $60,000, $70,000 or more on. A couple $1,000 is not gonna. I'm not gonna lose a deal over that. I don't have that kind of pride, and it's so you got to know your numbers for sure. So, and it is a lot easier to negotiate when you do know your numbers. So, again, only give a discount or anything like that if you are receiving the deal right then and there. Again, on low ticket items, service costs, things like that, I would never negotiate. But on big ticket items, there has to be or could be a little bit of negotiating. It doesn't have to be, but there could be a little bit of negotiating just to, sometimes you just want to give your customer the warm and fuzzies, and but if you have your numbers right, it's not going to hurt you at all. So what do you think, Brad?
I kind of agree with you too. When you're on these big ticket items, if you're looking to make 30K profit, and if you take $1,000 off that profit, $1,000 off for them, that they're going to sign a contract in the next 72 hours. $29,000 is still better than zero. So these big ticket items, you do have some room, but don't, like Calvin said, don't make a habit out of it. That's not something you need to do, especially if you've done everything else correctly and established value. They trust you. They know your design or your product is great. That you shouldn't have to do that often. But that's it for this video, guys. That was it for how to ask for the sale. We have a part 2-ish of this video coming at some point about how to navigate some of these objections when asking for the order, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and put a comment for us. Even if you just type one letter, you guys don't understand how much that does for us. It gets the YouTube algorithm to start showing this video to more people like you guys, more contractors and more tradesmen, and that does a lot for them and for us, so we would really appreciate that, guys. That's it, though. We will see you guys in the next one.
And hey, and if you disagree with anything, put it in the comments, or if there's another topic that you want us to cover, definitely put it in the comments and we'll cover it in the near future. Take care, guys.